Like community is everywhere. Your neighbors is community. Your team when you play, I don't know, any kind of games is community. If you are going to a festival, music festival, it's also a community. So community is like it's connected. It's somewhere inside of people, but people still trying to avoid because they don't understand what it is and how to use it properly, and they think that community is some kind of a marketing additional part to marketing, that it can drive more sales or drive more traffic to the website or drive more attention, which it can really does for sure, but it's totally have different approach. So it's like human first. It's not like money driven approach, but it's human first approach. And
thank you so much, Yuri, for doing this and being on Community Deep Dive. I want to welcome you, and I'm sure all the people who are going to listen to this, all the community builders out there are going to be really, really happy listening to this episode and hearing you out today.
Thank you very much, Pavan. I'm super happy to be here. And yeah, like I feel like every time I have an opportunity to talk to somebody, it's like one more opportunity to connect to amazing people from the community world, one more opportunity to share my thoughts, one more opportunity to start new conversations. So let's do it.
And this is going to be a definitely new demographic and a great place to share your insights. So I'm happy about that too. And before we get into all the community stuff, okay, we're going to talk a lot about community and a lot of other things within that umbrella. But who is Yuri outside of work? What are you doing when you're not working? What are you doing on the weekends? And when you're not thinking about community?
Is it even possible not to think about community? I feel like it's intersected, like as long as I'm not going through this severance procedure. It was a Netflix movie when you had some kind of chip installed in your mind, and then when you go to work, you remember only your work life. When you go home, you remember only your home life. Like when you use an elevator, your mind switches and like you have no memories, vice versa. But for me, it's like all intersected, and that's why it's even hard for me to say something, because when I have fun with my family, I have wife, kid, 2 dogs, and basically on weekends we try to spend time together. We try to, go eat some interesting food or go to travel somewhere or just lay and watch movies or read books or play games, whatever. So I noticed that even through those, actions, still community is getting into. So still it's coming to my mind, still, some ideas coming. So that's why I really love to switch from doing tasks. So basically when I'm doing community building, where I'm working like on daily basis, I'm trying to, go for a walk in the park or something like that, because that's what I noticed. When you focus on something, it's good. But when you go and let your mind wander, good thoughts are coming even better. So I understand that mind has 2 parts, like our conscious and unconscious part. So conscious is basically we're talking, basically we're using conscious part because we're thinking, we're seeing each other and all the stuff. And then unconscious, still some things are going on back there. And I'm usually like, okay, I have this task, so please, my unconscious part of brain, please do it, please work on it, while I'll be watching birds and trees and doing stuff. So yeah, it's all intersected.
Nice. I think I also enjoy this, where I'm consciously deciding to unwind and let my mind just sometimes wander around any thoughts that are coming to it while I'm reading a book or maybe just traveling, watching the sea sometimes. So I think that's definitely something that I also enjoy doing it. Thanks for answering that, and I'm glad everybody's going to hear to this that they need time to unwind as well. And getting into community, your background in education has been in sales, and I think you have been into sales as well for quite some time. And I also read that you started the Sales Hero community. What was your first thought about it? Like, how did you decide that, okay, you want to dive into the community space and you want to build, you want to intersect these 2 things? Like sales was something that was yours, and then you thought of a community within this. So how did this really happen?
It's really fun because, my background is really math. So basically, I studied mathematics. It was like this higher mathematics, and which people usually do not understand at all. It was really hard for me, because I understand that I love languages more. So, but still I have rather good logic. And when I needed to, finish my mathematics tasks, it took some time, but it was not very hard. And then I switched to sales, not just because I wanted to learn it, but because I was working. So I had an internet shop. I was selling goods for children, like prams, beds, and all the stuff that you need for newborns. And that was my, I would say, first experience of talking to people. Because prior to that, okay, not the first, but I would say the main experience. Prior to that, I was working in the bank as risk analyst, and I was analyzing insurance companies, their financial situations, their connections with different other companies to understand, should we trust them and should our bank work with them or not? So kind of like, go to credit committee to present in it and all the stuff. So it was like more analytical work. But then when I had my internet shop, I was more into like all this wearing many hats, because I ran my internet website. I've done some marketing, I've done paid advertisement, and definitely a huge part of it's sales. And I never liked selling in a way that, just to make somebody buy something, because it makes no sense. But I really loved sales in a way that it helps somebody. So if I see that people has needs and I have something that can help them, I really enjoyed finding this match. So somebody's coming like, I have this problem. And I was like, okay, so let me ask you additional questions. And then after understanding, it's very similar to a doctor. If you're going to a doctor is not giving you any medicine. So doctors ask you many questions, and then at the end, they ask you go do additional analysis, and then after that, they give you some medicine. Maybe or not. Maybe they say like, you're totally healthy, like make up your mind, go have a walk in the park or something like that. But the fun thing that sales is totally different. Once again, you can sell to sell, or you can sell to help. And I was also always on this sell to help part. And I see a lot of connections in the community world, because, community is helping each other. But how can you help if you don't know what people need? And you have to ask them. You have to talk to them. You have to listen to them first. And then maybe you have something to share with them. Maybe you have some other people to connect with them. And I feel like, community builders in general are this ultimate connectors who always know what other people need and know either how to help them or who to connect them with so they can thrive together.
Nice. I love that. And, while you were mentioning about all this, I was actually thinking of something that I read about a quote that you really like often admire. And I've just like noted it down, which says that the difference between an audience and a community is which way the chairs are facing. This is by Chris Brogan. Why do you like this quote? I mean, I understand that if it's a theatrical setting, then it's more like an audience. But if it's like circular and looking towards each other, it's more like a community. But what do you like about this quote and the perspective that it brings out?
Yeah, I also really liked it. I noticed it on somebody's website. I do not remember for sure who was this person. And then I understood that it's like was from some talk or something like that. And then I was like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because when you are standing on a scene and people are kind of listening to you, so it's like you're kind of like, you're shining on them and this kind of audience. But usually audience do not allow you this feedback part, because yeah, good speakers are asking questions like raise your hand, etc. But it's always like the surface level of conversation. It's never a deep conversation, and always deep conversation starting after a speaker went from scene and people come to them, and or speaker came to people, and then they having this conversation. And what I really love about the chair, watching each other, it's like you include in everyone, which means that you listen to everyone. And I understand that really great skill is when you still, if you have like chairs, people sitting in circle and watching at each other, there will be always somebody who will speak the most of the time. So the really great power, the really great skill is to let everyone speak, even those people who do not want or they're afraid of speaking, to ensure that you have this trust, safe space that everyone can speak. Or maybe ask some questions so they can answer if they don't know what to speak about. Or maybe even, as in the community, we talk about this word lurker or silent learner. It's also good, but as long as these people feel safe, because sometimes, people might be lurkers just because they're afraid of talking. They're afraid that they won't be heard, or they're afraid that they be some kind damaged, in this part of conversation. So yeah, it's very hard job, but also very fun, because the moment you understand what really drives people, like, are they afraid? Do they want to make connections? Do they want to make friends? Do they want to sell something? Do they want to, whatever? So the moment you understand people needs, it opens all the doors, and it's really nice.
Yeah. And you've also been very vocal about diversity and inclusion, and I think how to treat every member equally within the community. And I'm sure it has not always been possible. I think sometimes we, as a community builder, you do face that challenge, that how can you maintain that 100% equality? That's out there within the group. Have you faced this challenge? Have you tried to solve this in some manner? Do you want to throw some light on this?
I kind of understand. It's hard for me. We had this tough talk conversation with Vicky Cumberbatch about DEI in the community world. And for me personally, it's hard to understand, because I came from Ukraine, and in Ukraine, we don't do he, him, she, her, they, them. We don't divide people by the color of their skin or the language they're speaking. Definitely there is something behind of the brains, and people may look weird at others, etc. But at the end of the day, for me, every human is a human first. And if you are a bad human, you're a bad human, no matter what color or language or nationality or whatever. It doesn't matter at all for me. But if you're a good person, you're a good person. So I'm not trying to, kind of like, I heard this, when you create a conference, you have to ensure that speakers are from every part of kind of like minority or something like that there are, I don't know, whatever. So I never think about this from that perspective. But at the end of the day, for me, what is really very valuable is the knowledge you want to share, the knowledge you have, the experience you have, and people who want to listen. And the fun thing that when I created my conference in Ukraine for sales expert for 700 people, it was like I didn't take speakers by myself. I asked community, I asked people, who would you like to listen? And they told me who would they like to listen. And then my job was to reach out to those people and invite them and ensure that they are coming and they're sharing their experiences. So I understand this topic. I hear a lot about this topic. But once again, for me, it's all about how human you are.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's like you have always seen you have never really distinguished it for yourself that okay, let's write he him or she her and all those things. So it's sometimes like difficult to understand when people say that you should have speakers from this. I remember one time we were doing a virtual summit, and we had just announced the first phase of the speakers. There was approximately 50 speakers, and we had just announced the first 10. And in that, there were 2 females and 8 male. And somebody like put out a tweet that this is not an inclusive summit, and it became a big fuss about it. Whereas like we had clearly mentioned, this is just the first phase of speakers. So sometimes these things and this confusion does really happen, but I think now everybody is way much more mindful about celebrating that diversity. I would rather not use the word maintaining diversity and inclusion. I would say everybody is now mindful about celebrating that diversity. So that's definitely out there. Okay. Interesting question. What do you think are 3 skill sets that would be required for somebody who is just graduating this year and they want to get into the community industry? What do you think are the 3 skills that they should definitely have?
Definitely, it's public speaking. You have to know how to speak to people, because if you are not speaking, how can you understand what people's needs are? For sure. And secondly, it's empathy. I feel like everyone, I don't know, maybe it's first. So it's not in this particular order, but in general, empathy, to ensure that you can listen, not just talk, and but not only listen, but also hear what people say, and go to the deepest possible part. Because if you're asking a question, somebody gives you an answer, it's very rarely the final answer. So you have to ask additional questions to really understand what people are. Because if you if you ask, do you like coffee? People will say yes, and then you give them somebody espresso, but they hate espresso. Maybe they drink latte with 4/5 of milk. So you have to understand what kind of coffee do they really like. And the third one, I would say, is being curious and open to anything. And I remember I saw this video from Matthew McConaughey, and he told that once he was shooting at some kind of movie, and director came to him and Matthew, you are right, but there are many ways to be right. So it doesn't mean that if you are, it doesn't really matter if you are right or wrong, because there are many ways to be right, and different people in the same situation will be right from their perspective, but they can be totally opposite to each other. So it's really great to be open to every perspective and ensure that you are knowing not everything, and be flexible to listen to people's ideas, and to understand that if you are arguing about something, if you are fighting, to ensure that you are listen to everyone, and then you are finding the best possible solution that does not exclude anyone, but ensuring that you are moving in the same direction, not in the opposite direction. Okay, I won, you lost, whatever. But and also I don't really like this win-win. It's kind of it's hard for me. There is how can anyone win-win? If you're there are 2 football teams, there is no win-win. There is win or lose, or there is a due. But it's always good if you are collaborating together. So if you are understanding, okay, I stand for this, you stand for this, but we are still moving in the same direction. So for me, it's very crucial.
I'm going to come to my last few set of questions. And this is more about where do you think how the next few years are going to be about community building? Because the community industry and the trend has always seen an up and down. At least I have personally seen that, where in 2017-18, it was a great buzzword. Then it went down. But then in the pandemic, again, community was the thing that everybody wanted and, was wishing to be a part of. So then the buzz was again up there and it was trending. Certainly people didn't realize how to bring out ROI from communities, so then it went down again. And there were many things talked about and all of that, and now I think it's like at a plateau. But where do you see the next few years of the community trend being like?
Like talking about where do I see, it's like talking about what price of the Bitcoin will be next year. So it can go up and down, and I have no idea how it works. But what we can really do for that to ensure that we are going up, not down, is that I understand that community building has not enough brand outside of the community world. So, if you are talking to a marketer, or if you are talking to a salesperson, you don't have to explain anyone what marketer does or what salesperson does, but you always have to explain what community builder does, which means that we as community builders, as a community industry, we have to talk more to the outside world and to, ensure that everyone understands why community is great, why community building is great, how can it benefit companies, how can it benefit people, like what is behind, why do we need to do it, why do they need to do it, why do people need to really care about it. And we can go to history, but community worlds, it's not only online communities, like communities everywhere. Your neighbors is community. Your team when you play, I don't know, any kind of games is community. If you are going to a music festival, it's also a community. So community is like, it's connected. It's somewhere inside of people, but people still trying to avoid because they don't understand what it is and how to use it properly, and they think that community is some kind of a marketing additional part to marketing, that it can drive more sales or drive more traffic to the website or drive more attention, which it can really does for sure, but it's totally have different approach. So it's like human first. It's not like money driven approach, but it's human first approach. And as long as we are doing it correctly, we'll strive. And I beg everyone, every community builder, please go out there, go tell what you do, go tell how you help people, go share success stories with others. And I bet that if we are doing it correctly all together, we will see community building and community industry growing.
Got it. My last question, and this is more about about you actually, not about the industry. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old, some piece of advice, what would that be?
Yeah, I don't really have to go back because I have my kid who is 12 years old. Yesterday he had a birthday and he's 12 years old right now. So basically, I'm kind of telling it to, let's say, myself every day. I really understand that you have to be curious and you have to be open and you have to approach everything as a way to learn from it. Not in a way that it's a challenge and, life tries you and people are against you and all this stuff, but in worst possible situation, trying to understand what you can learn from it and how can you become better. And please do not compete with others, but compete with your yesterday self and try to be a better version of yourself every day instead of trying to beat somebody else.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's that can be a valid advice to community builders also, that build your own purpose and vision within the community, and don't just try to follow what other folks are doing. So I'm just building a metaphor from what you had said. But Yuri, I think this has been very fun, and I how I wanted it to be done, like just two friends having virtual coffee rather than going to technicalities, bringing in technicalities about this and that, because I'm sure we can talk a lot about community lurkers, how to avoid that, how to increase your engagement within the community, and so many other things. But I would have not got the opportunity to know you as a person. So I'm glad that we did this in a candid and fun way. and I'm sure everybody who's going to watch this, they're going to enjoy this. So thank you so much for taking out the time to have a conversation with us.
Yes, Pawan, thank you very much. And diving into these deep weeds, I understand that it may not always work, because for me, once again, community is like going to a doctor. If you are feeling that something like you are not super healthy, that you are some kind of ill, you just can't Google and find an answer to your question. You have to see a doctor. And that's the same for every community. You can have like general idea, but you have to look at exact example right now. And we can't compare, I don't know, gaming community and non-profit community, I don't know, connected with some kind of disease. It's totally different. So yeah, I totally understand. And yeah, I really love this conversation. Thank you very much for having this calm two friends chat. It was super nice. And yeah, we'll see you in the community world.
Thanks so much, Yuri. I really enjoyed it myself as well. But thank you so much for doing that.